everyone, it's your girl TeraMichelle. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Opinionated Scents, our safe space to discuss all things fragrance, whether we like them or not. Today's video is going to be a little different. We are still talking fragrances, but we're trying to answer the question of what my favorite genre of fragrance is. That is the number one question I get asked all the time here and on IG. People think, you have to have one you like more than the others. So I've literally been studying my collection and my tastes and my moods and trying to figure out, why is it so hard for me to just peg down and say, that's it. Here's the one that I like more than all the others. I don't know. I got to get deep in thought with it. So let's jump right into the video. In the last question and answer video I did, someone asked me a question about the fragrance that started my journey or began my love of fragrance. And I immediately answered with, actually, it was my love of the smell of flowers that started my love of things that smelled beautiful, that smelled pretty. And then I thought to myself after, editing and posting that, I thought, wow, but you hate floral fragrances. Like, floral and super heavy, spicy, incense-laden fragrances are my least. I do not like those at all, really. So I wanted to dive into that. And that is what began this serious intent to find an answer. I had been dibble-dabbling in it and trying to figure it out, but I really became focused after trying to figure out what happened, because I can go to the botanical gardens today and still love the smell of real flowers. So what is it? Well, I attend therapy. I'll be open and honest. And in this video, you're going to hear a lot about why, not in detail because it's not a sob story. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. But again, our palate, our sense of smell is so closely tied into our memories and our mood that I feel like that could have something to do with it. So let me go ahead and explain. I decided when I was talking to my therapist about this, I decided that I wanted to start to visit the different parts of me and sit in front of my perfume collection and see if any fragrances stuck out when I put myself in the mindset of that part of me. From the time I was born, my mother didn't want me. She hated my father. The first baby she carried by him was stillborn. She turned right around and got pregnant with me. He had already had a kid with someone who was supposed to be her best friend. So why she was with my daddy in the first place, I have no idea. But by the time I was born, a couple of months later, he got married to another young lady. Now, they're all like 15, 16, 17 years old. So the whole sordid tale is just absolutely sad in the first place. But she spent, all of the time that I lived with her, making sure every day I knew she hated me, never wanted me, never loved me, despised me because I looked like him. Guys, when I tell you, my childhood was so bad, the emotional and mental and physical abuse, I wouldn't wish on even my worst enemy. But it was something that I had to learn to deal with. And it was a long journey. It was a really, really rough road. So hence the reason I'm in therapy now. But whenever I would get out and I would go outside, I would realize how much I loved flowers, the pretty colors, the beauty in them, the way that they would just like gently sway in the breeze, And I love the smell of them. There's just something about them that wasn't dark or dank or stale smelling. We didn't live in the best house when I was growing up. We didn't have a lot. So at a very young age, around 3, 4, 5 years old, I did understand and recognize the beauty of things. And I used to love to be able to get out of the house, to not be getting yelled at, screamed at, hit on. And flowers were just the first pretty thing I saw that used to just flow in the wind, and they smelled so good. And I remember the smile on my neighbor's face because she was always out gardening, and just you could see how much she loved tending to these things. So I knew I loved the smell of flowers. And I have to wonder now if the fact that that was really what I had to look forward to when I was young, the first thing that I really gravitated towards to make me feel safe and just to lose myself in something other than how tragic my day and my life were going to be once I got back into the house. I wonder if I kind of sort of compartmentalized that when that little 3, 4, 5 year old me, the part of her that still lives in me. I wonder if when I close that off because sometimes the pain is too much, that is another reason why florals don't sit well with me. It might be triggering. However, in going through therapy, I'm visiting things and I'm exploring things deeper in all aspects of my life, including smell. I had a video once called, I think it was a scent story or something like that. It was a tag that I did where I asked people to talk about a fragrance they may have that has a very strong scent memory tied to it. And I will put it up in the cards for you if you want to watch it, because there's actually a perfume out here that is made by Swiss Arabian that reminds me of my childhood so much. And it reminds me of my cousin that was murdered back in 2016. So it's super emotional for me, but in the most bittersweet way. Like, I feel like I still have him with me when I smell that. So I know that perfumes and fragrances, candles, anything that you can smell can trigger you and bring those memories back. So I decided to start sitting in front of my fragrances with the intent of conjuring up those memories and that part of me, who I used to be back then, to see if any of my fragrances spoke to me. I know it probably sounds weird, but there are so many different mindful thinking techniques that you can do and other things you can do in therapy to help you process through things. So this is one that I thought would be very interesting, probably explosive in some ways, but also too maybe help me figure out why I can never just figure out what genre of fragrance I like the most, and maybe help me figure out why I'm so against some of them too, and maybe alleviate that, So here's some of the fragrances I came up with when I visited the young girl in me who lived in constant fear and just wanted to spend time with pretty things. I want to preface this statement by making sure you guys know I'm not saying I had any of these fragrances back then. Clearly, I was 3. What I'm saying is that the smell of these fragrances triggers that happiness, that memory that is so clear of me smelling flowers back then and just wanting to lay in the grass and be with those beautiful things. This is Amo Ferragamo's Perle. Beautiful, clean, crisp scent with a beautiful tart raspberry note. Yeah, this is pretty. This is super pretty. This is not heavy on the florals or anything like that. It's just clean and it's pretty and it travels with a breeze so well, and it's just serene and makes me think of the smile on that little girl's face. Same with this one. This is Chanel Chance Eau Tendre. This is the Eau de Parfum formulation. Very pretty, beautiful rose. Just nice. Just pretty for the sake of being pretty. And innocent. Like, not doing too much. Not too loud. Not overwhelming. Just pretty. I also thought of Oscar de la Renta's Bella Rosa. And another beautiful floral fragrance, just pretty. I love this. And I could also have chosen Bella Blanca too, the white one. Last but not least, I chose Aura, which was very interesting that this is one that spoke to me. But when I sprayed it, this reminds me of, the playground. This reminds me of a park that used to be by my house that we would go to sometimes, me and my cousins, and there was an apple tree there, and this just smells like, and I don't think there's an apple note in here, but this smells like just green, pretty, peaceful, happy laughter, like kids at a playground, climbing an apple tree, picking an apple, biting right into it without any care concern about if it was a worm in it or pesticides on it. None of that stuff you start worrying about when you're grown. But this just reminded me of that. This is just the memory that I associated when I reached for this bottle. So I'm working on myself with florals. a lot of florals that are too heady just cause me headache issues. So I think that is a sinus or allergy issue. But I don't know. I know I like real flowers. And even in picking out these fragrances and making my heart smile when I think about that young girl who just needed to be protected and loved by those who created her, but didn't have that. These make me smile for her, if that makes any sense. And I'm still going to work on florals. I am getting better because I have way more in my collection, but still, all in all, with that work done, florals is definitely not my favorite. Next, we're going to jump over to my teen years, which were even worse than my childhood years. I've been through it all, the mental, emotional, and physical abuse at the hands of my mother, and just how that branches out and bleeds into so many other aspects of your life. But as a teen, I grew a thicker skin. I became tougher mentally and emotionally. I no longer wanted to end my life, which, guys, by the age of 7, I had a little notebook where I used to draw all of my different plans on ending my life. If it was not for my grandmother, let me just say that. My grandmother, Wilma Jean, my saving grace, who loved me when nobody else did. When nobody else did. That woman is everything to me. And I'm so grateful for her. So as a teen, I was tougher, I was stronger. I was, admitting to doing stuff that my siblings did so that I would get the beatings and they wouldn't. Like, I didn't care anymore. I was biding my time and counting down to the years or the day that I could get out of that house. I just wasn't having it anymore. And I was working and a little bit more independent in the sense that I could get things that I enjoyed for myself. And back then I loved Sweet Honesty from Avon, Far Away from Avon. This perfume I used to get at Walgreens called Exclamation, that was my jam. I don't own any of those currently, but they were amazing back then. And when I look at my collection now and I thought about that girl who was making future plans and who knew she could make it through anything because of how terrible her circumstances were. And understand, I know there are a lot of people who have it a lot worse than I did, but that doesn't negate how bad mine was for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to compare and say mine was any worse or any better than anyone's. For me, it was pure horror and devastation. So that teen me that was coming into her own and making future plans would have loved Marc Jacobs' Daisy Oh So Fresh. I had a boyfriend who I later went on and married, and we'll get to that. The sweetness in it, the prettiness, the ultra feminine cuteness of it. Also, Radiant Nectar from Clean Reserve. This would have just been so amazing for spring and summer when I would go and meet him up at the park and just sit in the car and talk to him. Like, it was his mom's car, but still, like, that would have been a vibe, like a whole vibe. And this one here is one I actually did have back in the day. And this is Clinique Happy. Boy, this was my summertime fragrance. Do not play. It'd be hot, but I had to walk everywhere. We walk up to January Wabash Park and stuff like that. Clinique Happy, I was absolutely wearing that. And that brings a smile to my face. I think about the good times I had, how I made a way for happiness in my life outside of that freaking house, y'all. Love it. And these fragrances do describe a part of me and a time in my life, and even a part of me currently that love fragrances like this. Y'all know, come on, y'all know, I'm loving the sweets. I'm always gonna love sweet fragrances. And I think that sweetness is probably my number one favorite and mandatory part of a fragrance. Like, you just have to have sweetness in you. It's very rare that I'm gonna have a fragrance that I love and it not be sweet. Next, we're going to enter into the 20s. And not the 1920s, my 20s, for anybody who got jokes. But I was married at 19, and right before I turned 21, I gave birth to my first kid. My marriage was in shambles because, like a lot of women, I married a man who was just like my mother. who was abusive mentally, emotionally, and physically. A very hard, horrible time in my life. But my 20s taught me a lot. My 20s taught me that I had more strength than I gave myself credit for. I credit my firstborn with giving me the strength to leave finally that horrible situation, moved into a homeless shelter for abused women. I never looked back. Eventually got my first apartment. Didn't have any furniture, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it was a safe place for me to be a mom and grow from there. I would actually describe my 20s as the darkest part of my life. I went from being married to being a single mom. I was enrolled in school full time and working full time, and of course, a mom full time. So, and then I think my depression kicked in a way where it was unlike anything. There was a lot going on, and I didn't have a support system. Remember, I had a whole mother and a whole father that were alive and well with houses, and yet I was still staying in a homeless shelter with their grandbaby. Let's just keep that in mind. That's how alone I was. I was the oldest sibling, so none of my younger siblings could do anything for me. They were still staying at home. And my grandmother was married in a one-bedroom apartment to an abusive spouse of her own. Listen, the situation just was that it was just me. I was all I had, and I was a mom. So I had to figure it out. So I think about how much I wish I would have had this fragrance in terms of running a bubble bath and just doing some self-care and getting out and spraying this on myself, or maybe even the sheets, and just having a zen moment after I put the kids down for bed. This is Atelier Cologne's Oolong Infinite. Just so calming and soothing and beautiful. This was the first fragrance that I went to, that my eyes met on my shelf when I put myself in the mindset of being in my 20s. I think more than anything, I craved peace. I craved serenity because there was just none to be found. I also think about the fact that there was always something to do when you're a mom and you're getting on your feet, or even when I was staying in a homeless shelter. You all have chores. You always have chores that you have to do as a community together in that environment. And I'm always going to be a jeans and t-shirt girl. I always was a jeans and t-shirt girl. And this is just my baby. Such a calm, soothing, beautiful fragrance. This is English Laundry's Oxford Blue. I love this fragrance. I wish I would have had it back then. I'm so glad I have it now. And yeah, there's a honeyed melon note in here that I just can't get over it, y'all. This is, God, it's so pretty and so beautiful and so simplistic, but also just ultra mag. Then when I think about just having the strength to leave, the strength to say, I can't take it anymore. I'm not going to have my kid be subjected to something like this. I just want to break that curse or whatever is happening with that by getting my son out. And I don't care if I have to stay in a homeless shelter. I don't care. I have to do what's best for us. When I think about being strong enough to make that decision and stick it out, not go back, not feel like, oh, I need him financially. No, I will start from the bottom and work my way back up. I thought automatically of Chloe Nomad or the Parfum. Even though I have a love-hate relationship with the patchouli in this, it is what it is. This is definitely a boss diva fragrance. It's empowering. It is just, it's fantastic. Last but not least, I think about leaving the waitressing world and the part-time gas station job and finally getting a job where the dress code was business. And I was actually, in the professional world for the first time. And I thought of Ariana Grande, REM. Y'all know this is my baby. I love this fragrance. It's definitely a boss fragrance, something that you can wear in the corporate world for sure. But I felt grown and strong and independent in my womanness. And this fragrance definitely means that to me. So there are my 20s. So what I learned from these fragrances is that I craved zen. I needed zen. I liked comforting. So you have your Oolong Infinite, you have your Oxford Blue. but I also liked something that was professional and empowering to me as a woman. So you're going to get that with the patchouli and oak moss you have in Chloe Nomad. You're going to get that with that lavender, that beautiful lavender note in REM. And I'm starting to see myself become a little bit more complex with what I like. It's not just celebrity fragrances and Bath and Body Works and things that were intermittent and in between in those teen and early 20s. I'm starting to grow up a little bit. Enter my 30s, and I found myself. I have gotten myself together regularly with therapy. I have fallen in love with a man for the first time in my life, a real man. I'm in the best committed relationship ever, and I have more babies. This is when I start to understand depression. I start to understand trauma. I start to understand triggers, and I really fall more in love with fragrance, more deeply than I ever have before. The fragrances that I gravitated towards, like there were a ton that started pouring out at me for my 30s because this was the happiest part of my life up until that point. So Velvet Vanilla by Mancera, huge tuberose fragrance. Floral, I'm okay with this. Bubblegummy tuberose, fantastic. Smells so yummy and delicious. Girl of Now, Shine. And this pineapple note, so wonderful. Truth or Dare Naked by Madonna, my either first or second spicy vanilla. Come on with the voice here. It's been an emotional filming. Poison Girl Eau de Toilette formulation. So sexy, so fun, flirtatious and girly. Casablanca, who needs not be described. We all know her. We love her. Caramel Apple Bliss. Took a little while for me to love her because there is like some type of note that is originally in the opening that you have to get used to, but you know, it is what it is. And then Angel Muse or the Parfum. You guys know, top 10 for life for me. So is Casablanca though. So rich and chocolatey. Hazelnut chocolatey. This would be the Ferrero Rocher of perfumes. And I have some of those, which is why they just popped into my head. But these are gourmand and sweet and deep and rich, decadent, sexy fragrances. And I felt that way in my 30s. I felt alive and like I was coming into myself as a woman. And, you know, if I think about my favorite fragrances and my top 10 list, gourmands really do speak to me as quite possibly being my favorite genre. But alas, they're not. After writing down lists and going over fragrances, I have come to the conclusion that I literally do not have a favorite genre. I reserve the right as a woman to change my mind from day to day, minute to minute, or second to second if I feel like it. And I'm not being funny. What I'm saying is everything doesn't need to be categorized or put into a box. Sometimes you have moments where, let's just say seasons. If you talk to me in the springtime, then I might be more of a fruity floral girl. If you talk to me in the summertime, I'm definitely going to be a citrus girl. And then when you get to fall, I am a deep, dark, fruity floral girl. And then in the wintertime, I'm gourmand. But also, let's jump back over to summer and spring, where some days I just want the freshest and cleanest zen fragrances. So my mood changes with the seasons and also with how I'm feeling inside. There are some days I will wake up in the summer and want Casablanca or La Belle, which are usually fall fragrances for me. I don't know, guys. But if I had to answer the question, I would think that I would be a fruity girl, then a citrus girl, then a fruity floral girl, a gourmand girl, and then a clean girl. Like, and in that order. If I absolutely had to choose, like life depended on it, I would be safe in saying fruity floral. I think that would encompass a lot of things that are both light and dark, because there are some fragrances like, do I have any here? Okay. There are some people who think this is gourmand. There are other people who call it a fruity floral. So, to be honest, to be safe, to be able to cheat by using fruity floral, I could add gourmands in there. I could add just florals in there. I could add fruity in there. I could even get some citrus in there and some clean fragrances as well. So, I'm going to go ahead and cheat. I'm going to say fruity floral because it can almost encompass every fragrance. If I'm being honest, if you think about it, it really could. So we're going to take the easy way out. But let's not forget the 40s. I'm only 40, soon to be 41 in December. But when I thought about 40, just what this year has been so far, you won't believe what fragrance came jumping out at me. I actually wore it for the first time yesterday because it jumped out at me. 40 to me means triumphant, strong, a lover of whatever I choose to love. It means all of it. It means stepping out of the box and trying new things, being fearless and adventurous. I chose Kenzo World Power. I've had this fragrance for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I tested it. I will go and smell it from the bottle. Loved it. But it's like, I can't remember what's in here. It's like juniper berries or cypress, salt and vanilla or something like that. It was very, masculine in its scent profile to me at first. But I found something very fiercely womany in it. Womany is not a word, but we're just going to let that rock, okay? So, I don't know, but I wore this and even my 17-year-old was like, oh, mom, you smell really good. I'm like, really? I don't smell like a boy or a man? Yeah, be adventurous in all things. Change your mind if you want to. Open up your mind to new things. Enjoy this life that we have. Understand that everybody has traumas. Everyone has suffered tragedies, endured a lot. It's okay. You live, you make it, you grow. Yeah, I already know that I'm going to cut a lot out of this video, so the editing is probably going to be terrible. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to keep it as clean as possible, but there's a lot that I share that I don't think I actually want to. Like, I don't need to go in depth too much for you to get the gist of what I'm trying to say in this video. Just know that your life is precious. So is your mental health and your well-being overall. Take care of yourself. Find someone who supports you. When you don't have anyone, be the support you need. Figure it out, because this life is the only one we get here. We don't know what's after this, whether it's heaven and hell, whether it's reincarnation, no matter what it is, what you believe in. If you go back into the cosmos, I don't care what you believe. I think the overall goal is to be a good person. Just be a good person and enjoy what you can in life while you have this life. So while I'm living, I'm going to enjoy all of my fragrance, no matter what genre they fall in. I'm going to wear what I want to wear, when I want, how I want, where I want. Thanks so much for spending this time with me today, guys. I know this video was a little different. I hope you don't mind, but it was needed. And again, it was just the pathway that I found myself on in trying to answer y'all questions. So if you're still here, please do click that like button and also subscribe to the Terra Squad, as well as click that notification bell so that you never miss any of my uploads. If you have a story you want to share here, or if you want to hit me up on IG, you can. It's all love. The comment section is always open. If you have any strong scent memories, feel free to watch my video and also tell me about yours. Or if you have a YouTube channel, do that tag that I did so long ago. Tell us about the scents that get you through, because we all do it. If you're here on my channel watching my videos, I'm pretty sure we all do it. Even if it's a fragrance you don't have currently in your collection, there's something, or even a candle, or even a flower, or even a candy, something from your childhood that you remember that evokes like great memories. Sometimes it can be bad memories, which we don't have to dwell on, but it's just cathartic. Sometimes you just need a safe place to speak, to share, and process through trauma. So, see you guys in the comments. And until then,